I've had this camera for about a year, and today we're gonna spill the tea. I'm gonna tell you 5 things that I really dislike about Lumix S5 Mark II. Number 1 is L-mount lenses. The problem is nobody uses them, therefore almost nobody makes them, so it's very difficult to find any interesting choices. Plus, if I wanted to get a lens and rent them out, not many production houses do have L-mount lenses, so I normally have to go with something like EF mount and I just use an adapter. Luckily that works, but it would be nice to have some more native lenses. Number 2, it has to be the HDMI port on this camera. You know, the connection is stable, but the problem is that there's a little bit of latency on it. That means that anytime when I try to follow an action of an actor or, you know, do any whip, this little latency on your external monitor, it's surprisingly uncomfortable. Because of that, it happens that sometimes I overshoot my move or sometimes I miss the focus. I wish there was some sort of a patch for this. Number 3 is gonna be shooting slow motion. We get 180 frames per second and 120 frames per second only in HD, so they're not available in 4K. And in 4K we get 60 frames per second. But unfortunately with a crop, sometimes I'm in the perfect position when I really want to capture the moment. I'm switching to 60 frames per second and suddenly the whole framing is so much zoomed in that I'm like, whether I have space to move back or I don't, you know, it's always a little bit of an issue. And I might be very picky, but when it comes to moments that really matter when you film any events, it's good to have that fast pace of not worrying about anything and not necessarily having to change your choices because of the equipment that you're using. Let's move on to the next one. Number 4 is autofocus. I was really excited when I heard that Panasonic was introducing new phase detect autofocus to their cameras because everything was supposed to be smooth from now on. In the past, Lumix were not famous for their autofocus. So this time I was really hyped that finally I get to have all the benefits of having Lumix, you know, their quality, stabilization, all that kind of stuff. And this camera does have 10 different modes of autofocus. You can track animals, you can track cars, you can track bacteria, but unfortunately none of them works well. When you stand in front of the camera and you mark the tracking point on yourself and you move around, yes, it does track and it looks good, but if there's any other obstruction in the frame or there's another person, suddenly the camera forgets about the fact that it was supposed to track you. It did force me to learn manual focus, and obviously we all should learn how to use manual focus, so I'm grateful for that experience. And one bonus, silly, very picky thing, it's not Lumix's fault, but at this point just nobody shoots Lumix, so one, if I use it, I always have to color match it with people's cameras. It's just not very optimum choice for any B cam just because it's different. Like everybody has other manufacturers' cameras and it's just easier for them to use them because it's, you know, color science matches. But that's being picky. Happy 4th of July, thank you very much for watching. Today is my birthday as well, so consider subscribing as a little gift for me, and I hope to see you in the next videos. All the best, take care.